Saint Augustine Commentary on the Gospel of John, chapter 21, verse 12 to 19 following. Peter thought to lay down his life for Christ, the one to be delivered in behalf of the deliverer, seeing that Christ had come to lay down his life for all his own, including Peter also, which, you see, was now done. Now and henceforth a true, because graciously bestowed, strength of heart may be assumed for incurring death itself for the name of the Lord, and not a false one presumptuously usurped through an erroneous estimate of ourselves. Now there is no need that we should any more fear the passage out of the present life, because in the Lord's resurrection we have a foregoing illustration of the life to come. Now you have cause, Peter, to be no longer afraid of death, because he lives whom you did mourn when dead, and whom in your carnal love you did try to hinder from dying in our behalf. Matthew chapter 16, verse 21 and 22. You did dare to step in before the leader, and you did tremble before his persecutor. Now that the price has been paid for you, it is your duty to follow the buyer, and follow him even to the death of the cross. You have heard the words of him already proved to be truthful. He himself has foretold your suffering, who formerly foretold your denial. But first the Lord asks what he knew, and that not once but a second and the third time, whether Peter loved him, and just as often he has the same answer, that he is loved, while just as often he gives Peter the same charge to feed his sheep. To the threefold denial there is now appended a threefold confession, that his tongue may not yield a feebler service to love than to fear, and imminent death may not appear to have elicited more from the lips than present life. Let it be the office of love to feed the Lord's flock, if it was the signal of fear to deny the shepherd. Those who have this purpose in feeding the flock of Christ, that they may have them as their own and not as Christ's, are convicted of loving themselves and not Christ, from the desire either of boasting or yielding power or acquiring gain, and not from the love of obeying, serving, and pleasing God. Against such, therefore, there stands as a wakeful sentinel this thrice inculcated utterance of Christ, of whom the apostle complains that they seek their own, not the things that are Jesus Christ's. Philippians chapter 2, verse 21. For what else mean the words, "Do you love me? Feed my sheep," than if it were said, "If you love me, think not of feeding yourself, but feed my sheep as mine, and not as your own. Seek my glory in them, and not your own, my dominion, and not yours, my gain, and not yours. Let you be found in the fellowship of those who belong to the perilous times, lovers of their own selves, and all else that is joined on to this beginning of evils." For the apostle, after saying, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves," proceeded to add, "lovers of money, boastful, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, wicked, irreligious, without affection, false accusers, incontinent, implacable, without kindness, traitors, heady, blinded. Lovers of pleasures more than of God, having a form of godliness, but denying the power thereof. Second letter to Timothy, chapter 3, verse 1 to 5. All these evils flow from that as their fountain, which is stated first, lovers of their own selves. With great propriety, therefore, is Peter addressed. Do you love me? And found replying, I love you. And the command applied to him, feed my lambs. And this a second time and the third time. We have it also demonstrated here that love and liking are one and the same thing. For the Lord also in the last question said, not diliges me, but amas me, in Latin. Let us then love not ourselves but him, and in feeding his sheep let us be seeking the things which are his, not the things which are our own. For in some inexplicable way, I know not what, every one that loves himself and not God loves not himself. And whoever loves God and not himself, it is that loves himself. For he that can't live by himself will certainly die by loving himself. He therefore loves not himself who loves himself to his own loss of life. But when he is loved, by whom life is preserved, a man, by not loving himself, only loves the more, when it is for this reason that he loves not himself, namely, that he may love him by whom he lives. Let not those then who feed Christ's sheep be lovers of their own selves, lest they feed them as if they were their own and not his, and wish to make their own gain of them as lovers of money, or to domineer over them as boastful, or to glory in the honors which they receive at their hands as proud, or to go the length even of originating heresies as blasphemers, and not to give place to the Holy Fathers as those who are disobedient to parents, and to render evil for good to those who wish to correct them, because unwilling to let them perish as unthankful. To slay their own souls and those of others as wicked, to outrage the motherly bowels of the Church as irreligious, to have no sympathy with the weak as those who are without affection, to attempt to traduce the character of the saints as false accusers, to give loose reins to the basest lusts as incontinent, to make lawsuits their practice as implacable, to know nothing of loving service as those who are without kindness, to make known to the enemies of the godly what they are well aware ought to be kept secret as traitors, to disturb human modesty by shameless discussions, as heady, to understand neither what they say nor whereof they affirm. 1 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7. As blinded, and to prefer carnal delights to spiritual joys, as those who are lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God. For these and such like vices, whether all of them meet in a single individual, or whether some dominate in one and others in another, spring up in some form or another from this one root, when men are lovers of their own selves. A vice which is especially to be guarded against by those who feed Christ's sheep lest they be seeking their own, not the things that are Jesus Christ's, and be turning those to the use of their own lusts, for whom the blood of Christ was shed, whose love art in one who feeds his sheep to grow up unto so great a spiritual fervor as to overcome even the natural fear of death, that makes us unwilling to die even when we wish to live with Christ.